Welcome to What a Waste Podcast.
Thank you guys for tuning in once again. We got our first guest ever. Thank you so much for joining us.
Do you feel honored?
I feel very lucky, yes. Yes, this has been a spectacular introduction. Thank you.
Yeah. Maybe we should do an actual introduction.
Yeah.
Hello.
Nameless guest, do you feel honored?
We got a guy here. I hope you like him.
Just came off the street.
We
I was
have
cold.
the hilarious, amazing, talented, intelligent Eeland Stribling.
That feels fake, but thank you. Yes.
Welcome.
It's Stribling, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Yeah.
Perfect.
I've never met an Eeland.
Eeland?
Eeland.
Yes. I'm actually
Fine.
my first and last name.
You've still never met an Eeland.
I've also never met any. My name Eeland actually means largest African antelope. I was named.
Oh, really?
I was named after the animal.
Largest.
Yeah.
Wow.
Largest antelope. Not just antelope.
Not just the antelope.
The big one.
Largest,
The big one.
The big one.
largest
The
antelope.
biggest. Well, that's very appropriate because you've worked as a wildlife enthusiast.
Yeah. Yes.
Lucia's very good at segues. I don't know if you.
I got a degree in wildlife biology and conservation science.
Amazing.
And
Amazing.
then worked as a wildlife technician in Colorado for 3.5 years.
What is a wildlife technician? Because it sounds like when they break down, they call you.
It sounds like you plug cords into wildlife.
Yeah, that's a wildlife technician is just like the
When an animal like runs out of battery, you're like, go.
I'm just like the service department
Yeah.
for the animals. It's just I was never a wildlife biologist,
Okay.
but I was the I just helped the biologist do. I did all like the dirty work, and then
wow.
they get all the credit.
Details.
Yes.
What's the dirty work of a wildlife
Like
technician?
Cleaning out the cars.
Cleaning out
The
the cars.
Yeah, like you guys are right.
It's
You
turned
guys
into Goodfellas.
are- yeah, there's blood.
Ever
on the
since I can
street.
remember, I always wanted to be a wildlife technician.
Yeah, you don't use that
Do
many
you love
towels.
cars and animals?
Yeah. Just like a lot of maintenance stuff around the shop, and then when we did the animals, like I would after we removed the animals or put them down
Yeah.
or relocated them, like I would clean them up and like
Mhm.
clean the cages or clean the trucks and the vans or whatever we were using and the tools and stuff. So it's just like not as
And
cool
then
as a wildlife biologist.
And then the biologists get all the glory.
and they get all the glory.
God.
and
All the people cheering them on.
they
for
walk down the
for
street
putting
and people
down
are
animals.
clapping. Yes. And people are like, "You are our saviors."
And you're
And
standing on that holding a scrub
Yes.
brush.
covered in blood.
All right,
Yeah.
wait.
Oh
So
my
back
God.
up.
Covered in blood.
Okay, so Eeland and I met at a comedy festival.
Yes.
10,000 Lakes, very very fun. 10,000 laughs.
Laughs.
in the state of 10,000 Lakes
In
Yes.
Minneapolis?
in Minneapolis. It was very
Minnesota.
fun. We
Great
didn't really
city.
even talk about. I didn't realize that we both have this shared love of nature.
Not at all.
You being outdoors and me being indoors.
Yes.
And I've realized I don't really like getting outside.
Yeah.
Which
This
is
something
wild.
this is something that you'll learn about Lucia is that she's a hypocrite.
Yeah, she said this the other night, and I was like, "What is happening?"
She's like, I love nature. It's just not for me.
I'm
You
like,
know?
I love gardening. I like nature in a controlled way, but like,
"That's not nature."
I like nature in a controlled way. That's like literally a fucking oil executive has said that in a fucking press conference. You're like, what we should do is control nature.
Like, you should just go to the Rainforest Cafe. That's what it sounds like.
yeah,
would you
get some like alligator fingers or something.
And you like the thunderstorms.
I
every
like to
15
go.
minutes.
I love to go hiking. I love to be in natural areas, but like, I wouldn't say camping is my thing. But you're out
Okay.
there fly fishing.
Yeah.
Like, I think I would like glamping,
What's glamping?
What's glamping?
like tenting in. I mean, camping in a yurt.
Oh. Glamping sounds like a dance that you do. Like
It sounds like a TikTok dance.
Yeah, it sounds like it definitely sounds like a TikTok dance.
Yeah.
But you do it like dressed goth or something. Like I'm picturing like a goth, like someone in goth dress, but
Who's smiling?
It's
yeah,
like,
Yeah.
It's
yeah,
like bougie.
it's very
Confusing.
yeah.
So we met at this festival, and then we all added each other on Instagram, and I was like, oh my gosh, you work in.
This guy's outside a
You're
lot.
out. Wait. Fish.
Yeah.
So you're a famous fisherman.
I wouldn't say famous.
I would say on the spectrum of fame in the fish world, you're on the more famous side.
I think to people outside of the fish world, I might be famous, but to people
on
in
a
the
scale
fish world,
on a scale of
Zero
like
to fish.
like the fish in your fish tank at home to
aquarium.
to Nemo, you're somewhere along that spectrum. Yeah.
Yeah. I would say, I enjoy fly fishing, and there's not many black people who are one in nature
Yeah.
and two fly fish or fish. So
Yeah.
it's just like people are like,
Can
Yeah.
you explain fly fishing? I'm
Yes.
familiar with fishing.
yes, fly fishing. So you know what regular fishing is.
Yes,
Mhm.
I did it for the first time this year.
You're
Hated it.
using the weight of the lure or the weight of the bait to like cast as far as you can. So that's where the weight is. With fly fishing, you're using something much smaller and delicate,
Mhm.
and you're using the weight of the line. So that's why you see that like back and forth motion that people do, because they're using the weight of the line.
very
instead
romantic.
of just like casting it out there. It is. It's
Yeah.
sexy.
Depends what your definition of romance is.
It's like seducing.
Well, I like what I like to. I always ask my girlfriend to go like this.
Yeah, just to tease you with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just like, whoa.
Like a bull.
Yeah. I'm like, don't wear red. You know.
So you went to college for this. So when did you start comedy?
I started comedy in college. I was a junior
In Colorado.
in Colorado at CSU, and then
TSU. What's
CSU, Colorado
CSU.
Colorado
Got it,
State
got it,
University,
yeah.
and started comedy in college, and then I never put the worlds together, like wildlife / fishing and like comedy. Those are like during the day I would learn about animals and nature,
right.
and then at night I would go be a degenerate.
You go sex.
Yeah. Pussies. That was all me.
But like, so did you grew up like in nature, like going out a lot, or
Not really in nature. My grandfather was a wildlife biologist, like an actual wildlife
yeah?
biologist.
And you were like, that seems a little ambitious.
Yeah.
So I'll be a technician.
That's how I grew up. He just would hand me shit, and I'd be like, all right, I guess it's gonna be my future.
Yeah,
Did you grow up in Colorado?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yep. So he just was like the original Black Steve Irwin. Like he was like just cool
Wow.
as shit.
That's amazing.
Because you identify as
super-
Black Steve Irwin.
Super nature guy. So, but I like growing up. I wasn't really like we weren't camping or like backpacking or shit like that. We just liked nature, and I would go out and go birding and stuff like that.
Go birding.
So, birding. Yeah.
Yeah, you said that like it's like you know, like everybody. I'd go
People
birding.
bird.
Do you know what
I
birding
do.
is?
I do.
You're the only one who thinks this is crazy.
Well, no, I'm saying it's not crazy. It's not crazy, but the cat, like the, we'd go birding. Like it couldn't be further from my experience, like growing up. Like
To just go birding.
if my grandpa was like, "Let's go birding," I'd be like, "He's lost it. we need to put him down."
Have you ever seen a bird?
I have seen a bird.
And have you been like, that's a type bird?
That's usually what I say.
That's
I
birding.
go, "That's a tight ass bird."
That's it.
So you would be out, you'd be birding, were you fishing growing up too, or
Not
was
really.
it just
No. It
When
was
did you get into fishing?
like the year before I got into stand up. I started.
Wow.
I met this girl, and
Oh, good class. A tale as old as time.
yep, I met this girl, and
Yeah, it's
I'd been
fucking-
like regular fishing, but not fly fishing.
Oh, okay.
And so one of my intro to wildlife bio was we had for extra credit you had to go do another activity that coincides with like wildlife.
Okay.
So one of the things was like fly fishing or fly casting. You got to learn how to do it, and you get like extra credit. And I was failing because I fucking hated school.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I'll go do
Didn't I?
extra credit, and
Yeah.
then just fell in love with like fly fishing and learning about it and nerded out, and then Just did it
crazy
every
how
single day.
I feel like a lot of stand-ups are like that, where it's just like you're just waiting for something to like catch,
Yeah.
and then you just are like
Like fish.
this. Yeah.
Yes.
Like fish.
Thanks.
Do you see how he's silent?
That's like when you're at a dinner party with your partner and
Yeah,
you're
you go,
like, hey,
let's-
you're talking too much.
Yeah, it is like a fish. No, but like I feel like a lot of stand-ups and like we're like obsessive people.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh,
we-
absolutely.
It's like once you find the thing, you're like all in on the thing.
Well, 'cause
so
that's like what stand-up is. It's like
Yeah,
once
you-
you find it, you're like, oh.
yeah, you
This
can't.
is what I've been looking for.
And you can't do it. I mean, you can't really do it half-ass. Like
No.
you have to just be obsessive about it.
yeah, and think about it all the time, and it ruins.
Do you make your own? I've heard that people like make their own lures and
They
stuff.
tie
Do
their
you
own
do that?
flies. That's what that's
Tie
called.
their own flies.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's-
If I would, if I mean, I could
That's
have brought.
merch.
So I
Tie your
I,
own fly.
I could sell merch. Yeah.
You
Or
should.
people use them as earrings. People use them as like necklaces.
Oh, I thought it was
Dude,
just a shirt that
this
says
isn't
tie your
on
own
t-
fly.
Just regular
Just a
letters.
whiskey line.
No, you can actually like sell like flies like this. That's like the fly
wow.
of
Show the
if they can
camera.
see. Yeah.
He breaks the arm.
yeah. So this is a fly of a crab. It's called a raghead or a strong arm. And
Yeah.
then we use these to catch saltwater fish off the flats in Mexico. So this is one of my first flies I tied, and I got it tattooed
Amazing.
on me. Yeah.
Wow.
So
That's
Is
awesome.
that how big it is?
no, it's a little smaller, but
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
amazing, dude.
So
yeah,
when
you
did
can
you-
definitely this just turns into business. Like you should sell those. You should absolutely
Let's
sell
talk merch.
yes.
So when did comedy? Because I'm in a similar boat where
Yeah.
they were two very different worlds.
Yeah.
And I was doing like climate education, and then I started stand up and sort of stopped doing that for a while.
Yeah.
But I still worked full time. But I have an aunt who's a science journalist, and every time she comes to see me, she goes, "Why don't you start talking about
Yeah.
climate?" And I'm like, "Shut the fuck up," because I'm not there
You're
yet.
like,
Yeah.
You're like, but my ex was weird.
It's more important.
Priorities.
Let's talk about road rage. No,
Yeah,
it's
And it just started. This is my way of bringing it together because it's hard to talk about it on stage.
only reason that I've been able to combine them is because people have been like, I will pay you to do a show at this conference or at this
Right.
thing, and then I'm like, oh, I should probably figure out how to write jokes about
It's like a writing
fishing
challenge
and
where you
nature,
have-
but also climate is like sad, so it's like not something to joke
Yeah.
about. Like,
See, we've
most-
run into this a little bit with this podcast.
yeah, most of the comedy is you try to like those are, even if it's sad, you're like, oh, there's something funny about it. But with climate,
Yeah.
it's just like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's sad, and
It's
we're
a big-
gonna die.
It's
It's
a big
devastating.
lift. I gotta be honest. Like her role every podcast is give me bad news,
Yes.
and mine is to go.
What's the
"It's
deal?
not that bad." Like,
How
oh,
can
that's
we
weird.
be? How can we be insensitive to this? Really?
Yes.
yeah. How can we make fun of that? This like we're all gonna die.
Yeah.
Like soon.
Well, someone was asking me about like why she thinks or why I think that it's not really talked about like in late night a lot, and why it is hard to talk about in comedy. And I was like, because I had never really thought about it, because I do think some people are just lacking expertise, because
Right.
it's something you do need to understand.
Right.
You can't just like make a super easy joke about it, but then
Right.
also it's something that's happening over time, so
Yeah.
it's not like
Yeah.
a shooting happens, which is serious, but you can like make fun of someone.
Yeah, it's not like a shooting where it immediately gets addressed and fixed.
But it's not like one event. It's even like if a
No, totally.
hurricane happens,
Totally.
it's
Yes.
like
But
hard
it's like-
to pin it on like a villain and hero.
Totally.
Yes.
And the only reason I make that joke is because it's like you're exactly right that it's happening over such a long time frame that it's like it's so hard to address, and it's like we're not even addressing the absolute like urgent immediate
Yeah.
things that are happening. So how can we we're not even close to addressing something that's happening at that time scale.
Yeah.
You know, it's
And I like the way you said there's no villain or hero, because
Well, there
Yeah.
is, and it's the oil industry.
Yeah,
but you
but
sort
they-
of need to know that.
yeah, but also they don't. There's not a person. That's
Yeah.
just like That's just
Yeah.
like Instagram. Like when you report something on Instagram and you're like, I wish I could talk to someone, but there's no
Yeah.
one at Instagram. Instagram
Yeah.
is just.
No.
Dude, yeah, absolutely. I've had like
Now you're talking Tyler.
they took down a clip of mine, and I was like, hey, it was like for violence, like incitement to violence, and I was like, it was a joke about like showering,
Yes.
and I was like, this is not violent
I
at all.
reported that, by the way.
Thank you, Luca. And they were like, yeah, you're right. Like they got back to me after weeks. So like, you're right. This is not bad. We'll put it back up. And then they just didn't put it back up.
Yeah,
and there's no one to talk to.
You can't like call the hot, like you can't call someone and be like, hey, it's hot today. Like whose fault is it that it's hot or raining or snowing in California and like snowing in LA?
That there's less forest than there used to be. Can I talk to your supervisor?
Birding has gotten extremely hard.
The villain is the villain.
There's less
is
type
like,
birds.
The
There's
villain
way
is
less
like
type
The
birds.
ego of humanity, which is like hard to really pin down a joke on.
Yeah.
It's
We can do it though.
We
We'll
can
do
do
it.
it.
We'll
We'll do
figure
it.
it out.
Yeah, we'll get
We will
there.
have
We got about 30 minutes.
the-
We'll probably figure it out.
the Netflix series of just climate jokes only.
Yeah, I mean it is tough in this podcast because she's always bringing, like, we've done like what is climate change, plastic straws, all this stuff, and it's always just like, oh boy,
Yeah, and then
there's a lot of bad news.
you learn about it and then you go out into your day and you are conscious of it, but then you're like, every restaurant I go to, they give me a straw, and you're like, I don't want a straw. But then it's just like
Then they throw it away.
that happens.
They give you a straw, you
100
go, I don't want a
times
straw, and then
every
they go,
second.
they're throwing
Yeah.
it away. Yeah, and I've said this before on the podcast too about like I don't believe in individual solutions to
we're
a
all fucked.
collective problem.
Yeah.
You know, like, so I think that you should use reusable bags.
Yeah.
You should use less straw. All this stuff, like. But I really think that most of that that's making you feel like you're doing something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's good. And I think that we should all do that. And the more people that do that, the more like momentum there is. But I think that,
Someone needs to be assassinated. I'll just say.
Oh, thank you. We couldn't. There it is.
Exactly.
No one
After
knows.
a year of doing the podcast,
Name
finally
names.
someone-
Name names.
Well, because
oil.
like in a capitalist structure, the theory is that like the consumer drives the market, but I don't even think that's true. Like it's just people from the top down deciding. So even if a lot of people are, I think sometimes that can be the case. Like that sort of happened with plastic straws, but not really.
Well, and we talked about plastic straws where it was like we really put a lot into that. It felt like everybody was like, no straws.
Yeah.
Starbucks, no straws, all this stuff. That's 4% of plastic waste
Yeah.
in the world.
Yeah.
It's like,
It felt like the ice bucket challenge.
yeah.
That's how a lot of stuff where it's like everyone's into it and you're like, this is tight. This is going decent.
Yeah.
Like someone's not gonna have ALS at the end of this. And then you forget about it.
Someone just stands up straight up.
And then you forget about it and you go to a restaurant and they have plastic straws and you're like, oh, that
didn't do
it
anything.
did nothing.
The entire state of Florida actually didn't get on board with this.
Yeah, they
So-
don't get on board with a lot of stuff. I'll
Yeah,
tell
but
you.
they're gonna be gone first, so that would be cool.
Yeah, it's gonna be great. I can't. My whole family lives there. I can't wait for them to drown. It's gonna be great.
My Gramps has
That's
my
true.
Gramps has
I
a
forgot
beach
about
house.
that.
I'm like, I'll come visit, but I
The
can't.
wildlife biologist
Yeah.
is in Florida.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's Florida is cool from that perspective. Like the
Great fishing,
Everglades.
fantastic fishing. It's getting worse, but it's good fishing.
Yeah. And I like never took advantage of that. I never got out there, but a lot of friends of mine would go out, like, you know, out fishing, deep water, all this stuff. But yeah, it's gonna be gone.
So we
That
talked
deep water is gonna get deeper.
I caught a striped marlin off of Key West.
Wow.
Permit, bonefish, tarpon. It's spectacular out there.
Amazing.
So how would you? We talked a little bit about this. One of my greatest fears is fish.
Which is insane.
Touching them, looking at them, even if they're dead at the supermarket.
This is news to me.
We went to a seafood restaurant, and I kept silent, but it was one of my
For
greatest
my birthday,
fears.
I wondered why she was like for like
Crabs
the
are-
entire like hour and a half that we were eating for my.
I have nightmares about crabs. I've had nightmares about crabs, but even
You're
Well,
like
this is a crab tattoo. Did that freak you out
Yeah.
a little bit? That's
I
wild.
shuddered. If we can roll back the footage. I shuddered. And fish. So how would you this? I'm uncomfortable with the frog on that cup.
Really?
It's just like any sort of sea creature.
This
but
is a
especially
a
fish.
land animal.
They're in the water though.
sometimes.
Slimy. But fish, the touching them, I'd rather. There's nothing I'd rather. I think
Okay.
I, in a past life, had some trauma related to fish.
This
That was a relationship that's been going, and you're just like, this is it. I'm over it.
It's anything that there's no explanation for. She's like, must have happened before I woke up.
I think I died on the Titanic. I'll say it. I think I died on the Titanic.
And got
You know
eaten
how,
by
you know how fish took down the Titanic? we hit a marlin. Cracked the hull.
So when there's something bad in the news, do you secretly think it's like it was probably a fish?
Yeah. How do you?
It's like other people
do
are
you think I
racist.
can
They're
ever
like, that
get
was
over
probably.
this? I
Um,
went fishing for the first time in Norway. And
Okay. That's fantastic.
It was.
That's a weird flex.
Norway
That's awesome.
was amazing.
Yeah.
And I hooked a fish
Okay.
in the eye.
Okay. That might
and
be.
It was
Yeah,
horrifying.
it's traumatic,
And then
yeah.
we had to let that fish out, and now he's being made fun of by all the.
No,
fish in
Well,
Norway.
see, now you're acting like they are people, and they're not. They're not talking. About
They're not people.
They're not people.
Not talking about.
This is a stance that I've held for a long time. That fish ain't people. Fish ain't people.
They're not people.
But it is violent. Like hooking
You ever feel
hooking a
bad?
fish. Like I would fish when I was I grew up in Michigan before we moved to Florida when I was like 10, and my grandma lived on a lake, and we would fish off the dock and
Yeah.
just catch little what is it, like bluegill, yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's like sometimes like the hook is deep, and it's
Yeah.
like if you don't know what's going on, it is a little violent. Like
Ripping the flesh.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah.
But
It never grosses you out.
you the other side of it.
Grosses me out. I mean, there's been the more I am into fishing, the better I am at it with anything else that you do. So it's like there's less mistake. Like most of that shit happens when you don't know what you're doing and you just are yeeting fish.
I resent that.
Yeah,
Like,
it's like when you're setting the hook, you do it wrong.
Yeah, or it's just like you're not feeding the fish. Like there's ways to just like the better the people who are really good at it don't hurt it's just like a lip piercing. It's like you just giving them a quick lip piercing and it's gonna heal over. But if you like hooking them in the eye, they're resilient.
Have you ever hooked yourself or someone else?
Oh yeah, I teach kids how to fly fish and how to cast and stuff. And there's been so many times where I'm like holding the flies and they're like, "Mister, look," and they just go and yank it and it just goes like through the finger, through the hand, and so it's been pretty bad. And so then, but I never get mad because I'm like, I deserve that, you know. Like I've hooked enough fish where I'm like,
we're gonna work on
I
your
get that
self-talk.
one. I get that
no,
one.
this is healthy. This
Yeah,
is
it's just like if I've stabbed a bunch of fish in the mouth.
That's your karma.
If I get a hook in me, I'm like, that's fair.
Okay.
Here to make you understand. In a past life,
I'm listening. In
a past life, he hooked someone else.
Yeah. So, but I think you can get over a fear of fish. I went to the
Just like
aquarium.
exposure therapy. Like if you did it more, I think you would get used to it. Kind of thing.
I went to and if you go with someone who like cares about, like if you go with someone who's like fucking fish and they're just like ripping fish out or like making it, you're like, this is bad. But if you go with someone who like,
I had a cousin like that. I was like, ugh.
yeah, they just like put their fingers in the gill and
he's
like
just
make
a
it
kid
bleed.
and he doesn't know what he's doing.
Yeah.
But it's like, this is not.
Yeah, check that kid's backpack.
Yeah, exactly. But are the places that you fish, are they like in danger of like climate things happening
Everywhere.
at this point?
Everywhere is in danger.
Well, so you work for. We'll loop into this. So you said you were volunteering with Protect Our Winters,
Yes.
which is it's a climate organization, and they're very focused on like winter sports, right?
Yes.
So like snow melt, because that's a big issue. And
Yes.
like, so what's going on in Colorado right now, where you are?
We got too many people moving there. I can't buy a house. The traffic is horrible.
Okay.
Climate stuff?
Yes.
Yeah, we have it's very confusing because we have a really good snow year this year, and so people are like, "We're good."
The classic
Climate change we're good, guys. We had a great snow year, but historically not as great as it's been in the last 30, 25 years. Right. So I mean, we have good snow melt, but last year, probably next year, we're gonna have not as good snowpack, and then we're gonna have less clean water. Like the runoff is going to be earlier in the year. Ice off is going to be earlier in the year. And then come July, August, we have really, really dry, low water levels. And the Colorado River feeds Arizona, Las Vegas, California, and a bunch of other places.
Drying up, right?
And it's literally sinking. And most of that water goes to LA. Like most of that water goes to California.
Yeah, to make almonds.
Yeah. And so it's like, and they have a fair share of the water rights of the Colorado River. And so you could drive down the Colorado River and just see like all these different like drainages like just disappearing into the ground, and those are all going.
Do you fish in the Colorado River?
I have fished Colorado. So I mean it's stuff like that. It's hella summers with hot days, very, very dry weather, and then fires. Last year we had a fire in like January that lasted like 2 weeks in Boulder, Colorado. And it was like burning people's homes, and it was just dry. It was just dry. So, crazy, so that's where I live. That's where I fish for like trout, and carp, and then I've also fished saltwater. So I fish Honduras and Mexico and Belize and stuff. And and there's something called sargassum.
Sarcasm? I'm familiar.
I don't know why you looked at the people. Did you guys learn? Did you guys have a day about this? A podcast about this?
No, I'm just reacting. No, wait, what was it?
Sargasm or sarcasm, however.
Sargasm?
Yeah. But it's just like a seaweed and a bunch of chemical runoff from like pesticides and people use on crops goes into the ocean, and it just like the seaweed like super likes it and just grows like crazy. Yeah. And it'll cover like miles from the beach out to the water. So all that water is just stagnant, and it's just like a hot blanket. Yeah. So anything under there is being acidified, and then all the fish are dying, all the plant life is dying. And so I've seen like there's been days where it's not windy and everything looks good, and then the next day it's windy and there's like a quarter mile down the beach of sargassum, and it's just like hot, and it smells like sulfur, and it's so I mean I've seen it from like cold water fisheries to warm water.
That's happening in Florida too. I think we talked a little bit about like the red tide.
That's exactly what it is. Yeah,
it's like runoff from these farms that are all using. God, it goes so deep because it's like if they were just farming that like sustainably, they would not be using these chemicals. But they like the companies that with the Monsanto we talked about, and they're just like everybody compete to create the most of this one particular product. So they have to the only competitive advantage they can have is using more and more chemicals, and it's just then that runoff just poisons everything.
I don't think I've ever talked to anyone who like is around bodies of water enough where they really see, because I hear all the time that they're about runoff, but I don't think I've really talked to anyone who's experienced what that means in a body of water.
I mean from brackish water where there's like a freshwater stream goes to the ocean, where I mean that feeds mangroves, like that feeds estuaries and stuff, and it just kills everything from tiny darter fish to like 200-pound tarpon, and it's just sea turtles, man. It's like anything in the water is just poisoned, and it's been bad. And there's places like there's a group called Captains for Clean Water that like do events and stuff, and they literally show up at like Capitol Hill like, hey, you're fucking shit up, which is like it's like what you have to do, but also there's fun parts about fishing. It's not all doom and gloom. It's just like you because I'm on the water so much, I can like watch events change. Like I can watch people like last year, the fish were like this. Now there's less grass. You could just see it sort of. You get like little timestamps.
So like you said, like these good moments. Like, do you have like a top moment as a fisherman?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. I was off the beach in Mexico, and we were in a little boat, and we were actually tagging tarpon.
Mm-hmm.
So we were doing acoustic tagging on tarpon, and I'd never seen big tarpon before. When I'm talking big, I'm talking like 125 to 250 pounds.
Wow.
And they're like, my friend who's like on the boat, he's like, oh, there they are. And I thought they were like dolphins, like jumping through the water. And I was like, those are dolphins. He was like, no, they were tarpon. And then you see these things swim by, and they're like prehistoric fish. Like their eyes are like their eyes
this
are like
absolute romantic moment. Lucia's like, not a fan.
I mean, they're like the kings of the ocean. Like sharks don't like. There's not many fish that will eat them.
Mm-hmm.
Like they just are just badass. And
how big are they?
I mean that like right there, that's like the size of their mouth.
Oh my god.
Yeah, like they're
125 to 200 pounds.
Yeah, like
they're as big as us.
They're massive. But we got to like catch a couple of them, and just being in the water with fish that are 60, 70 years old, that are twice the size of you or weigh as much as you is. It was like a moment where I was like holding the fish's mouth, and I was like looking at his eye, and his eye is like that, and I'm just like,
and it's just unblinking.
Yeah, and it's moving, and you see it, and you like fought it, and then we put the tag in it, and it was just a moment of like I don't belong here. Like something about it, like this thing has been in the ocean for so long, and like if I got out there, I would die. But this thing is just like the king of the water. Like it's just cool as shit.
Like a real deep respect.
Just like a perspective of like, man, you are dope as fuck. And it took me all this stuff to catch you, and you were like just gonna go kill more shit.
That was the first time the fish had ever heard it.
Yeah, the fish is like, he doesn't have to go to therapy anymore. It's like that's actually very validating. I appreciate that.
The guy who was gonna kill me told me I was dope as fuck,
and then kissed you as I swam away. Yeah, it was. So that was like a super special moment. Yeah.
Wow. Do you think that we do too much space exploration and should do more water exploration?
I don't really fuck with space.
I feel the same way.
I also don't really fuck with being lost at sea.
Same.
Yeah.
One/two of my biggest fears is being lost on a boat by myself in the middle of the ocean, or being sent out in space by myself.
Yeah, people. A lot of people.
I'm sensing a fear of loneliness.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I tried to mask it as in I was getting shipped off to space, but I fear of isolation for too long. I like being alone because I don't like people that much. But
fishing is a very solid.
People are like, I need a lot of space, and then you put them in the middle of the ocean.
They're like,
they change their tune.
Yes. They're like, I would
maybe a little less space. Yeah, actually,
I would love for someone to ask me about the weather. We're both outside.
I'd love for the weather to be a variable, like a question, and not just something that's imposed on me.
Yes, absolutely.
That's But that's a beautiful moment. So you were like tagging fish for research?
Yeah, to see like their migration patterns, because it's
right.
And also studying populations and studying wildlife is like the bare minimum, I think, of like saving the planet, because it's very like a myopic view. Like it's very small to look at like this frog and say like, what do we need to do to protect this frog? But it's if we protected all of where the frog lives, then that just doesn't protect the frog.
Like all of the habitat.
Yeah, so we were doing just tracking like where they swim, where they spawn, like how deep do they go. It's just to figure out like, all right, maybe they're in this like protected area for most of the year, but then they leave and go to these deep water, and then they get caught in fishing nets, and now they not as many spawn. So it's just looking at their migration pattern.
It's crazy how like each organism in like a body of water has such an important role. And so studying one, like for my work, we were partnered with the Shed Aquarium to do mussel monitoring in fresh water, and mussels are like so important for filtration.
Yeah.
They're only one tiny thing in that body of water, and if you just study it, you're like, oh, this is the most important thing, and it's like, No, it's
Right,
one of
right,
the
right.
many things
Yeah.
that's interacting. But then runoff can destroy
all the muscles.
all
Right,
of them.
right.
Yeah.
Well, and what you said about like if you just protect everything around them, like their actual habitat, then they'll be fine. You know, it's like
Yeah.
it's. I always hear stories about like restoring certain habitats, and then the animals just like completely unmonitored. It's just like these species start to come back.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh,
Yeah.
we don't have to do shit. Just
Yeah.
It was like when
literally
COVID
do less.
happened.
Like
Yeah.
do less. And like if we just stop fucking with everything, nature is just like, yep, here's everything.
Like when
Yeah.
we were all trapped in our homes during quarantine and they all were emerging.
Yeah,
They're like,
yeah.
are they all gone yet?
Yeah,
Did they
yeah.
die yet? Did they die?
I wonder how much we delayed climate change by like dying a lot.
Yeah.
I think about it every day.
Like we really probably put a dent. Like we probably bought ourselves like about 6 months of sea level rise by just like
Staying
a lot
home.
of people dying and all of us staying home.
But then it happened because then everyone came out and were like,
Yeah.
I have to live a fucking
Then we
life. And then they
doubled
did
down.
everything.
Then everyone bought a $40 plane ticket.
Yes.
and-
Oh my god.
So we probably have to wrap up in a few minutes, but this brings me to a question. So you work a lot with wildlife.
Yes.
So then how do you feel about humans in general and population?
We got to get rid of a lot of people.
Yeah.
And this is, if this happens to me or my family, then that's a risk I'm willing to take. But
Are you going to have kids? You
Yeah.
wanna have kids?
Yeah, I'm gonna have like 6.
Yeah. So
Really?
So
Wow.
you're going to create a compound.
Yeah.
To survive the
Oh
end.
yeah,
Yeah.
they're gonna be tight as fuck. Yeah, one of them's gonna be a bow and arrow expert. Other one's gonna be good at digging holes. I don't know what that's gonna be good
You're
for.
just talking
but
about the cats of The Walking Dead.
That's
One's
it.
gonna have a crossbow.
Yeah. I do want kids selfishly, but
Well,
we
this
have
is what
too
I'm
many
saying
people.
is that like have kids. It's not you can't by not having kids. It's not a solution.
Yeah, because the
It
individual
just
isn't.
we have to change the structure of the world, like of society.
We also need conscious people to have kids.
yes, also that.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, if you individually don't, if just you don't have kids or don't use plastic bags or whatever,
Yeah.
that's not enough. You know what I mean? It's like that would.
You can have kids.
You can have kids.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I
Have
wanted
as
to
many
come
as
on
you
this
want.
podcast and just make sure I was validated in my
Yeah,
coming.
we are. We're here for that. We're here to validate you.
There's too many
Yeah.
people, and we gotta.
We
Yeah.
gotta-
The main solution is just we have to
And
have
that's why
less
you're
people.
And that's why you're anti-vax.
Oh, I'm
Let 'em
I'm
go.
anti-vax.
And
I'm anti.
too many people, it's not any one individual's job to get rid of them. But
Why not?
let-
Why not?
Well, I would say we're an anti-violent podcast.
Oh, okay,
Oh.
okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, but I would say
But if there
let
was like a
nature run its course.
sinkhole
If there was a sinkhole
in New York City and it just like
That it could happen, man.
we would
be-
need to really have like half of the amount of people that
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, it's like we're always thinking about that from the framework of like how we're running things now. Like
Yeah, we're
yes,
fucked.
there are too many people the way that we do shit now. But I don't know. Like if we just fucking got smart and like started running the world in a sustainable way. And I don't know how to get there, obviously,
I think
but
we're
it's
already
like
past.
Yeah, we're
we're very
past
far
it.
beyond. Yeah.
I think we should just do
you're
it
thinking
from
about
TikTok.
space.
no, I don't fuck with space.
Dude, none of us fuck with space.
None of us fuck with space.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I mean, yeah, it's like it's obviously like a pipe dream. I just want
You're
this,
an
and it's
optimist.
not gonna happen. But
If you like something, someone should post a video, and every person who likes that video on TikTok, you just get.
that'll solve it. Yeah. If only here's the real solution. If only this podcast got 1 million subscribers,
Oh, easily.
that would fix it.
We would figure it out.
Then
Yeah.
they can all survive. That's the deal.
Yeah.
Yes,
Anyone who
only-
listens to our podcast is allowed to survive.
This isn't a violent podcast, but if you subscribe to this podcast, you will be spared.
If you
Yeah.
subscribe to our
And
Patreon,
if you don't, you're really taking your life in your own hands.
Well, this has been an absolute joy and a privilege.
Yeah.
Thank
we
you.
learned
Thank
a
you so
lot.
much.
Yeah. Thank you so much for coming, man. This was
Thanks
really
for
fun.
having me. I love this.
First
place.
guest, and it's a high bar. It's going to be tough for people to come in and follow you. So
Even though
thank
we
you
have
so
one
much.
person who's already here who's going to follow him.
Well, you know, peeling back the curtain a little bit. But, no, thank you so much for coming, man. This was really fun.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I had fun. So.
Yeah.
Thanks for having us.
Bye, guys.
Absolute panic from Lucia. Thanks for having us. It's our podcast.
Okay, check out, follow Eeland on Instagram.
Yeah.
Are you on anything else? Check out your website. Do you have a website?
I do have a TikTok.
Check out his TikTok. Go visit him performing. Go see his shows in Colorado. And are you performing anywhere else?
Yeah, I'll be in LA in like 2 weeks. I don't know when this is gonna come out.
Probably about a week.
Yeah, I'll be in LA the week. Alaska, Portland.
Ooh.
Alaska.
Austin in April. So
Beautiful.
come
All
out. Just
over
check
the
my
place.
link tree on my Instagram or TikTok.
Yeah.
Check his link
Absolutely.
tree and
Go see him.
keep listening.
Yeah. Tell a few friends about the podcast.
Yeah, don't be weird.
Yeah, don't be weird. Definitely tell some friends. Like, comment, subscribe, all that. And thank you again for coming back. See you next week.
Done.